Welcome everyone. I'm here to basically answer all your gardening questions. If you have any garden questions, please drop them down below. I know today, this year even, has been a really crazy year. We've had lots of pests, we've had lots of heat and not very much rain. And it's been a whole experience for me personally. I've found that I really have to change my game up when it comes to watering, and basically hello hello Kim, hello John, how are you? I was just talking about this year and how crazy it's been weather-wise and pest-wise. I don't know, because you're more up north than I am, I don't know how you guys are, but it's been absolutely mental. Ooh, hello, Karen. It's been absolutely mental here with the ants. Just today, actually, they're like, when I'm saying they're everywhere, it's like the floor is moving with them. It's been absolutely bonkers. So it is what it is, but yeah. So if you've got any questions about gardening, drop them in the comment section below, or if you want to have a little chat, that's fine too. And I'll just be nattering. Hello Sheridan, how are you? I hope everybody's well. It's been a very good growing season for sure, yes. When it comes to weather-wise, it's been amazing, but it has also been super dry so far. Exactly. Hello, Joe. A bit embarrassing, but I cut back my courgette plant. I would garden with my daughter, so I did this a few years ago where I cut the growing tip off of my courgette. Literally cut the whole stalk off. Oh no. Will it grow back again, or should I focus on the other one? I would focus on the other one. So I had this a few years ago where my daughter was helping me harvest, and she cut the growing tip off of my courgette and it never grew back. It stayed stunted. It went from being really productive to not being productive at all. So if you've got another one, then try as much as you're able to put loads and loads and loads of love and attention into that one, because it might come back, but I don't think it will. Sorry. Yep, Karen says loads of flying ants ants anyway where she is as well. I'm not the only one. Hello from Virginia. Put my teeth back in. Hello. What can I grow now for Christmas? So if you're doing outside potatoes, now is a great time to do your outside potatoes. First early or second earlies, but you will need to floss them at the end of the year. You will need to fleece them at the end of the year. I'm just getting mine in tomorrow and the next day. I just having to harvest all those potatoes, put more in. It's a bit intense. There's also carrots that you can get. I think Autumn King 2 is a variety that you can sow. Meteor peas, and there are some cabbages that you can sow, but they will be ready after Christmas, so they're all great things anytime. Hello everyone coming in and saying hello. So it does take a little while for my my live feed to sort of ramp up, because I've kind of done it so that when it comes in fast I can actually read what's going on. Hello Mum's Homestead. So yeah, that's what I'd suggest sowing right now. I'm sowing a lot of brassicas, and I've gone for pak choy, kohlrabi, etc. So they're really good for like stuff just before like an autumn harvest as well. My potatoes look like they're dead. Fantastic. Then it's time to collect, harvest them. So yeah, if your potatoes look really sad right now, yellow, maybe even brown spots on them, and they've kind of cooled over and look like they've, you know, something's really bad with them, that means that you can go ahead and harvest them. They do look really sickly, but that is absolutely totally normal. I like to take them up before the foliage completely dies off, because if they're in the ground it makes them hard to find and you're just digging for ages. Just be super careful where you're stabbing into the ground, because you don't want to go through a potato. What I like to do is use my hands they're never clean, and dig through with my hands first to get most of the potatoes out, and then use a fork or whatever to try to find the last ones. It makes fun. No, it's okay. That was me just being a bit silly. What weed killer is the best? So funny enough, I'm actually doing a whole video on weed killer this week. I personally don't use weed killer, but there's tons and tons of different ones that you can use. But on your bed, you've got to be super careful. If you're growing vegetables, I personally suggest not to put weed killer on your beds because they stick around for ages. But if you're going to use them on like walkways or anything like that, just make sure that you're using whatever it is. Use the brand, any brand you want. Glycerite tends to be really frowned upon. So if you're not comfortable with glycerin, then go ahead and find one that's not got that. But make sure it's a really still day, and a day that isn't going to be rain in the forecast. You will not get a good result if it rains because it will just be washed away. So if you are going to use weed killer, then go ahead and make sure you're going to do that. Like we say, we want everyone to be growing. It doesn't matter how we grow. What manure do you think is the best? So whatever you can get for free. So that's my personal opinion. We use horse manure because we got that for free. It was dropped off, so we use that. But now the horse manure guy has moved away and he's taken his horses with him. So I'm mostly using chicken manure because I've got chickens, and chickens make a lot of manure. So that's what I'm going to be using for free. But anything you can make for free, even if it's just compost. In fact, I'd say just compost. Compost is amazing. If it's homemade compost, use that. Anything you can get your hands on, just use that. But what's the best? Probably cow manure, because it doesn't have weed seeds in it, because they digest all of the seeds as well. We had our first few new potatoes. Congratulations. Just digging out small ones for a while now. Brilliant. There's nothing better than, I think the potato harvesting is probably one of the best. One of the best harvests, because you never know what you're going to get. You can get a really weedy plant and you're like, oh my goodness, what is this? And then you dig down and you get massive potatoes, so it's super exciting. I agree about the manure. Yes. Free 99. Exactly. I love that, free 99. Absolutely. Anything that's free makes everything worth it. Whatever you can get hold of. I know some people even use rabbit bedding, and that is amazingly good for your crops as well. Can I plant potatoes that are too... Yeah, that's exactly what I done. So I'm not perfect, so some of my potatoes did get a bit green, and I've literally, as long as they're first early or second early varieties, just stick them back in. You don't need to chip them this time of year. Just to let you know, chip means when you get the sprouts come out, you don't need to do this time of year because it's warm enough in the soil. But if you have done that, it's even better. You're going to get potatoes sooner. I love potato harvesting, me too. Always so exciting, yes. Mind you, have rodents eating them this year? I had that last year. I had it really bad, and the year before. I find when I heal them up, I get less rodent damage. I had hardly any rodent damage this year. And I think it's because I healed them up like probably more than I should have, and they were really deep in the soil, and the ones that are deep in the soil didn't get rodent issues. So strawberries, I've got a question, sorry. When is it okay to pick strawberries early? Strawberries don't ripen after you've picked them. I personally like not ripe strawberries because they're firmer and a little bit sour, but find the right ripeness for you. If you don't like them when they're squishy, then pick them a couple of days earlier and really experiment with that, because I was always waiting until they're fully ripe and I don't like the texture. So I now do them when they're just on the borderline of being ripe, so they stay nice and firm. That's how I personally like them. But just really experiment. When you're growing your own food, you can eat food however you want to eat food. You don't have to have it like they have at the supermarket or whatever. If you like courgettes small, pick them small. It literally doesn't matter. So that's what I do personally. I'm struggling with my crop rotation. So the best thing to do with crop, I personally don't necessarily crop rotate, but I think I posted a little while ago on my posts just a diagram. So see one of those diagrams, save it, and then just follow that. I think it goes something like potatoes, and then I swear I don't know what I'm talking about, and it goes round in a circle. That's the best thing to do. What I personally do is, if I have issues, I rotate my crop. So where I was growing my potatoes, I've got a really less and less harvest. I'm not gonna plant them in there anymore. I'm gonna move them around. If I don't have an issue, like my tomatoes grow beautifully where they are, I'm not gonna move them. And that, for me, is absolutely fine. But if I do have issues, I'm going to move them. I don't have a massive area, so it's not like I can move them like 20-30 foot away. They're going to be next door to each other, so I don't necessarily move them around too much. Also, I forget where I planted stuff, so it is moved around a little bit. I use potato bags. That's perfect. Potato bags are a really good investment. They were good last year. Yes, that's perfect. Potato bags are wonderful, and they're really easy to get everything out. Just tip them out into a wheelbarrow, and then you can get through them. If you've got kids, they absolutely love digging for potatoes. It's like digging for the gold, but just don't let them throw them into the bucket, because they bruise like apples. Sorry about the rodents. I know, it's so disheartening when a rodents come in. I have this rabbit, and I'm telling you, have you ever watched that program? Probably not the Americans, but the English people here might. Catch That Pigeon. Do you remember we grew up watching it? It might even be an American program. Anyway, it was this dog was trying to always catch a pigeon. I feel like that I have that relationship with a rabbit right now, and he keeps getting into my allotment, and no matter what I do, he just keeps getting in and eating all of my stuff. It's just such a pain. So drip irrigation, I've just done a video on that. I've just installed it in my home garden, and drip irrigation is basically like a pipe basically that comes along the ground, and it literally drips onto the soil so that you don't water overhead. It's a really effective way of watering, and it's actually 50% less runoff and evaporation than if you were using, say, a sprinkler system, and it's so much less likely to get things like blight and disease, because it doesn't splash soil up onto the foliage, which means leaves, or get the leaves wet, which is how you get things like powdery mildew, which kind of looks like powder on your squash plants. How do I amend acidic soil? So if you have acidic soil, first you can test that, obviously, and then the best way really is to probably add compost. It depends if you've got it in a pot or onto your ground, but I would say that I've been growing for absolute years, and I tested my soil last year, but to be honest, I've never had any issue with my soil at all, and it's super alkaline. Never had an issue whatsoever with it. So before amending, I would always think, do you need to amend it, and have a look at how your plants are actually reacting. Because if you test your soil, even like that far away, the pH can be extremely different. So before you really add loads of things into your soil, I definitely look to see what your plants are doing and test multiple patches around your soil. Where was I? Oh, rabbits this year. I know, they're awful, aren't they? Chupacabras. Completely. They're absolutely terrible where I am. Do you have apple trees? I had 2 apple trees. I managed to kill both of them. Rabbits love apple trees, and they chew through them. We have apple trees. So what I do is don't have apple trees, but I get apples every year. I get about 20 kilos roughly from one of my friends, and I peel them all, core them all. I use the peels and the cores to make apple cider vinegar. Super easy. I actually have a recipe on my channel, and I can all of the apple sauce. either as applesauce or apple pie filling, and have it on the shelf. I've finished it completely. We're at bare basics here now, so that's a really great way to have it throughout the season. It's super easy to use. You just open it up and chuck it in anything. You could put apples in anything to substitute for sugar. It's a really great way to like sneak in some fruit as well for your kids. Yeah, water bathing, fantastic. Yeah, that is a really great way of doing it, and you get to use tons of it, and it's so good as well, just as snacks and stuff. And you'll find that when you have abundance of things, you use it more often, especially if it's convenient and not frozen. Then it's absolutely great. Oh, apple and rosemary jelly sounds amazing. What is the best way to store vegetables and keep them fresh? Depends on the vegetable. I was actually just talking about this. You can see behind me I've got a fridge. We've actually got another freezer for here, and I'm super excited about that, because if you put carrots into like shopping bags, you know the ones we get, the what are they called? Life ones, aren't they? I can't remember what they're called. Bags for Life, that's the one. If you put them in one of those, which is just a plastic shopping bag, and tape them up, they last for a whole season almost. And so does cabbage, etc. Cauliflower and broccoli I just freeze. It's easy. I've just done a load of beans today. It's bean season, guys, and they take a lot of work, don't they? I forget every year. I've planted so many, but it really does depend on the vegetable that you're talking about. Things like squash, potatoes and garlics are so easy, because like this, you just cure them, which means leave them to dry on the side, and they get a really thick skin, and they're able to last for a year. My garlic lasted for a year last year. I used the last of it when I pulled up my next lot of garlic, so it was absolutely epic. But it does depend on what you're storing to how you store it. Oh, meat and cheese. Yeah, it sounds absolutely delicious, that jelly. And I think jelly is jam, but it doesn't have the bits in it, from the top of my head. But yeah. How do I put... Alright, I have clay soil. So I've got a question, how to improve clay soil. So I have clay soil. I'm on London clay. And I find that the only way I've managed to amend it and keep it amended, because clay soil, if you add a load of organic matter, at the end of the year it looks like you haven't done anything to it because of the structure of the clay. So after years and years and years of adding horse manure, compost, whatever I can get my hands on, it literally has loosened up the soil. So it just is keep adding organic matter and time. That's what it boils down to. My home garden is not only clay, but when we got this outbuilding, all of this mud, because they do footings and all, don't ask me about building, but we put it all in our raised bed, and it was literally like a swamp in there. It was disgusting, and the soil was so hard. And now it's light and fluffy, and all I did was put loads and loads of wood chips on top and let them decompose. Wood chips make really good mulch, and it's called Back to Eden, where you put tons of wood chips on and they just rot down. It suppresses the weeds. It's wonderful. If you want to give us that recipe, stick it on my community post, because I'm sure that everyone would love that recipe if you're willing to share it. How hard is it to can tomatoes? It is as easy as falling out of bed, right? So what I do personally is I roast all my tomatoes. I love roasted tomatoes. So I roast them, and then I don't even bother taking the skins off. I know lots of people do. If you want to take the skins off, you can. After they're roasted and cooled down, you can pull them off, blend them up, and then for every jar, I put in I can't remember if it's a teaspoon or a tablespoon of lemon juice for each one. Pretty sure it's a tablespoon for each of the jars, and the jars are 500 milliliters of half or a pint, and I water bath them for it's 25 minutes for pint. Someone will probably correct me, I can't remember off the top of my head. I haven't done it for a year. And that's it. That's all you do, and then they become completely pressure sealed. And to be honest, everyone's worried about getting botulism, right? I've canned for absolutely ages. I do ridiculous amount of food in cans every year. I've had one fail, and literally I opened up my garage and the first thing I thought was, oh God, one's failed. You would not eat it. The smell of a failed jar is extreme, so there's no way you'd eat it, and trust me, you couldn't eat it. My tomatoes keep cracks. Okay, so if you're getting cracked tomatoes, you're not watering consistently. So watering consistency means watering every either day or every couple of days, but watering deeply. So what's happening is your tomato has got to a certain size, right? And you're flooding it with water, so the tomato expands, but the skin, it hasn't got time to expand, just like stretch marks, right? So it splits. And that's where you're getting the split in the tomato. If you don't see any mold, it's absolutely fine. When it comes up to summer, that happens, particularly on thin skin varieties. My favourite tomato is black cherry, and they're really bad for splitting when the rains come in like the autumn. And they're absolutely fine to eat, but you do find that they split. And if they're not got anything wrong with them, then I do eat them, but they will not store. So make sure like you either using them as like a harvesting snack, or you're eating them very, very soon, or they will mold. How do I prevent potato blight? The best way to prevent any blight, now potato blight's not massive, on touch wood here, but tomato blight is, and it's the same thing. Just make sure you have that good aeration between your crops so that you space them correctly. I always give them a little bit extra room. I find that if they have that little bit of extra room, then you get better harvest, you get a bit more of a harvest, and you don't have disease issues like fungus diseases like blight. That's the easiest way to do it. You can spray them. I think it's hydrogen peroxide or aspirin. Aspirin's actually quite good, and you use a dissolvable aspirin, and I use 2 tablets per one of these, which I think is 5 litres, and I spray my tomatoes with that, and I, touch wood, keep blight off. But it's once again pruning, make sure that you have the space for them. How do I prepare my soil for vegetables? So it depends what you have. You can put some compost over them with cardboard if it's a new bed, like even on grass you can do that, or you can just take some handfuls of horse manure or bloodfish and bone, mix that into the soil, and you're good to go. I try to amend it with something that's going to break down over a long time, and just keep it as weed free as possible. You are going to get weeds, especially if it's ground that hasn't got like shop bought compost on it, and that's absolutely fine. You just need to keep on top of them. The best thing to do is just run your hand over the soil if it's a raised bed, or use a hoe, a hand hoe or something like that to keep them down. Brilliant. Is there a certain pressure thing that I need? No. So if you're going to be talking about anything that's high acid, so that's tomatoes, pickles, anything like that, you don't need a pressure canner. Pressure canners here in the UK are ridiculously expensive, unless you're talking to my partner, and then they're very, very, very cheap and an absolute bargain, because I have one. But you don't need one. All you need is a big, what they call a stock pot. So a big pot that you could put a couple of jars in. You can put a tea towel at the bottom of the jars, but I find that really inconvenient and really loud. Best thing to do is when you've got your canning jars, they come with rings, put in those at the bottom. If you don't have those, put in some shop bought jar lids at the bottom, so your jars can't sit at the bottom of the saucepan that you're using, and that'll be fine. It's best to start off cheap, and then if you like it, if you want to keep doing it, then you can invest in something later on down the line. But cheapest is always best, especially when you're starting out. This hobby can be very expensive. Pressure canner, yeah, you can get jars for Amazon. I really like the home jars from Amazon. They're quite cheap. Canning jars can be very expensive here in the UK. Like very, very, very expensive. So you can use shop bought jars as well if you want to. That's how I started out. I have one and I haven't used it yet. it honestly, if I had it handy, I'd get it down, but it has a valve, and if anything goes wrong, that valve will pop. Just making sure that you're there watching it, and honestly, it will be completely utterly fine. You just do it the first time. Can beans or can water, and honestly, it's not very scary. Thank you. You have a go. Yep, brilliant. Water canning is the easiest way to go. What can I do to stop birds eating my seeds? I think the easiest thing to do there is to cover them with some netting or some fleece. Very light fleece this time of year, but that will help them not eating your seeds. Birds are terrible. They will watch you do your gardening, come along and eat everything that you've planted, or pull up your onions or whatever it is. Any tips for growing cabbages other than covering mine to protect from whitefly? From whitefly, so there are sprays that you can use for whitefly, but if you don't have a tight enough weave on your fabric, you get whitefly anyway. They're so tiny they can get through. There is a spray that you can use. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head, but you can get like a kind of universal bug spray, and that can be very, very effective for them. But what I personally would do is I would mix up a solution of soap, so like washing up soap, and water. And what you want to do is make it so that it's a couple of tablespoons in a small sprayer, and if you spray it on your hand, you know it's correct if it's tacky. And then what you want to do is just turn the leaves over and actively spray them with the solution, and it will suffocate them and they'll die. Other things you can do is just go ahead and rub them off, and I know that's gross, it doesn't really bother me anymore, but if you rub them off, that's another great way of getting rid of it. But basically, you just want to invite those ladybirds into your garden. And honestly, this year I didn't cut back my buddleia, and I've found that honestly that thing is just absolutely covered in ladybird larvae, so I'm never cutting that back in the winter ever again. So making sure you've got all of those habitats for the ladybirds will really, really benefit. And parasitic wasps as well. What does cabbage need? So cabbage it loves nitrogen, so if you've got any stinging nettle tea that you've made, or anything that's strong in nitrogen, it will absolutely love that. Anything that likes to have lots of leaves likes nitrogen. It doesn't like to be overcrowded, so you want to leave a few foot between your cabbage plants so they can get really big. Think, if you want a cabbage head like this big, you can't give it this much room. It needs extra room. If you want huge cabbages, like I've got one in the allotment at the moment, which is about that and about that, but it's not quite ready yet. That is an XL cabbage, so it's a type of seed that I've actually bought, and that will make huge heads. So just bearing in mind that you're shopping for seeds on the characteristic that you actually want. And they like really firm soil, so when I put them in the soil, I actually stand either side of them so that their roots are really nicely into the ground, and watering them in really helps. Hiya, hi Nick, it's Susan, happy to be here. Hello, hello, hello. Sorry, I'm reading things not for me. Have you had, I do have nettle tea, honestly it would love it. And I find mine stinks revoltingly, and whenever it's like that, my plants absolutely shoot up. One of my friends actually made a tonic tea sort of thing with chicken manure, and I'm telling you, you can smell it from a mile away, so it must be good. What's the difference between organic and inorganic fertilizers? So organic means it's man-made, organic means it's not man-made, so it's like chicken manure, blood, fish and bone, whereas, or like we were just talking about, singing nettle tea, etc. Whereas inorganic fertilizer is something that's made in a lab. Inorganic fertilizers makes it grow a lot faster, and organic is more slow growing. They're the main two differences of them. Anytime, no problem. Yeah, tea smells real bad, but it is so good. I have seen people use their homemade fertilizer, put it into like a jewelry bag, put that into water for like a couple of days, and then watering with that is meant to be amazing for your plants, because it gets all the bacteria from the soil, like all of the good bacteria from the soil, and gets it into the plant, onto the soil, and that really boosts your overall yield as well, because all the bugs in the soil really like work with your... I just realised my dehumidifier has been on the whole time. That must have been so annoying. Really works with your plants, so that's a really great thing to do as well. All right, guys, that's my half hour up. I have to go in and do bedtime. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Thank you.